Welcome to the dark side of the spotlight, where the blinding glitter of global fame meets the cold, hard steel of corporate contracts. The year is 2026, the wait is finally over, and the Chapter 2 we were promised has evolved into a beast nobody saw coming. The kings have returned to their throne, yes, but at what cost? We are stepping into a brave new world, where BTS isn't just a band anymore. They are a sovereign economic entity, a cultural monolith, and with that unparalleled power comes a set of new, draconic rules that has the entire fandom up in arms. Why are hashtags trending worldwide demanding freedom for the members? What could possibly be buried deep inside these 2026 contract renewals that has armies crying foul, signing petitions, and threatening mass boycotts? From heartbreaking restrictions on their personal creative freedom to bizarre ironclad bans on spontaneous fan interactions, the leash has never looked this tight, and the tension is suffocating. But here is the paradox that will blow your mind. While the rules inside the company are stricter than ever, the world outside is absolutely starving for them. American television networks are currently locked in a ruthless bidding war that makes the GDP of small countries look like pocket change. We are talking about legacy media giants and streaming titans throwing literal millions of dollars on the table just to secure 5 measly minutes with the members. Who are these desperate networks willing to bankrupt their budgets for a cameo? And more importantly, which specific member is bearing the brunt of the most hated, controversial rule in K-pop history? Is this the heavy price of maturity? Or is it corporate greed gone wild? Prepare your hearts and hold on to your light sticks, because we are about to peel back the curtain on the most expensive, exclusive, and controversial comeback in music history. Are you ready to face the truth hiding behind the purple curtain? Number 7. The Silence of the Lamb Skewers, The Tonight Show's $3 million desperation. We kick off this list at Rockefeller Center, in the heart of New York City, where the smell of desperation is thicker than the humidity in August, and the target is none other than the oldest member, the visual god Kim Seok-yeon. NBC's flagship program, The Tonight Show, starring Jimmy Fallon is currently sitting on a ticking time bomb of declining ratings in 2026, as the entire landscape of late-night television teeters on the brink of irrelevance in the face of streaming giants, and executives are scrambling, sweating through their expensive suits, willing to sign a check for a staggering $3.2 million for just a single, 5-minute segment featuring Jin. Why Jin? Because the data analytics don't lie. His post-military return has transformed him into the most sought-after variety personality on the planet, blending that classic worldwide handsome arrogance with an oddly comforting, chaotic uncle energy that America simply cannot get enough of. The network's pitch was simple yet legendary, a 5-minute unscripted cooking chaos segment where Jin attempts to make a high-end Michelin star dish using only convenience store ingredients, live, with Jimmy Fallon acting as his terrified sous chef. It sounds like guaranteed viral gold, the kind of content that would break the internet and save the fiscal quarter for NBC, but there is a massive, heartbreaking wall standing between us and this golden content, and it is the first of the newly implemented 2026 protocols that has armies screaming in protest. This brings us to the dreaded rule of sterling decorum, or as the fans bitterly call it, the death of Eat Jin. Under the new 2026 contract renewal terms, which were drafted to reposition BTS not just as idols but as global heritage dignitaries, there is a strict, ironclad prohibition against members consuming food or beverages on camera without pre-approved lighting, professional styling, and a vetted script. Yes, you heard that correctly. The days of Seokjin turning on a V Live, now Weverse, at 2 a.m. in his pajamas, hair messy from sleep, slurping noodles while ranting about video games or scolding fans for staying up late, are officially dead and buried. The corporation has deemed that level of intimacy damaging to the ultra-luxury brand image they are cultivating for the group's mature era. The rule explicitly bans uncontrolled consumption, meaning no more spontaneous mukbangs, no more alcohol-induced honesty hours, and absolutely no plastic cutlery on screen. Armies are furious because this rule strips away the very humanity that made Jin their comfort person. They don't want the polished, untouchable sculpture in a 3-piece suit sipping sparkling water. They want the guy who gets excited over steak and complains about the heat. The friction is palpable. The Tonight Show Times is offering millions specifically for that chaotic, relatable energy, but HYBE's new legal team is blocking it, insisting that if Jin appears, It must be a formal interview, standing still, looking perfect, and devoid of any unpredictable fun. It is a battle between the raw, authentic connection that built the fandom and the cold, corporate need for perfection. Fans are trending hashtags like #LetJin and #BringBackThePajamas, posting compilation videos of the old days to remind the world of what we are losing. It is tragic, really, because we are watching the active erasure of the spontaneity that made us fall in love in the first place, replaced by a curated, shiny veneer that feels distant and cold. The network is reportedly begging for a waiver, arguing that America loves the messy Jin, but the management is holding the line, terrified that one slip-up, one unscripted joke, or one piece of spinach stuck in his teeth could devalue the billion-dollar brand. This isn't just about food, it's about control. It's about saying that the real Jin is no longer acceptable for public consumption, and that hurts the core of the fandom more than any scandal ever could. So, as we look at that $3.2 million check collecting dust on a desk in New York, we have to ask ourselves, is the price of maturity the death of joy? Because right now, a shiny, perfect Jin feels a lot less valuable than a happy, well-fed Jin-cracking dad jokes with a mouth full of ramyun. Number 6. The death of the Daegu wordsmith, Saturday Night Live's $4.5 million rejection. We leave the polished floors of Times The Tonight Show Times and head straight to the legendary Studio 8H at 30 Rockefeller Plaza, the hallowed ground of Time's Saturday Night Live *, an institution that has defined American comedy and culture for over 50 years, but is currently gasping for air in a media landscape that demands constant viral moments. The executives at NBC know that to survive the 2026 season, they don't just need a pop star. They need credibility. They need edge. They need raw, unfiltered artistic danger. And there is only one man in the global music industry who embodies that ferocious authenticity: Min Yoongi, the genius producer, the rap god, the man we know as Suga. The offer on the table is absolutely astronomical, a staggering $4.5 million for a single night, not to host the whole show, not to act in 10 sketches, but for just 5 minutes of a musical guest spotlight where he is given complete carte blanche to perform a raw, uncut cypher. This isn't about butter or dynamite choreography. SNL wants the grit, they want the spit, fire aggression. They want the man who wrote Daishwita and Amygdala to stand center stage and tear the roof off with the kind of visceral hip-hop that hasn't been seen on network television in decades. It is the perfect marriage of American counterculture legacy and K-pop's most respected lyricist, a moment that would legitimize the genre in the eyes of the harshest Western critics once and for all. But this dream scenario has crashed violently against the jagged rocks of the most heartbreaking, soul-crushing regulation in the new 2026 HYBE playbook, the Persona Unification Clause, or as the fandom has tearfully dubbed it, the burial of HYBE. Under the strictly enforced terms of the new era, individual members are legally prohibited from promoting, performing, or embodying distinct alter egos that diverge from the group's harmonious global pop image. The logic from the corporate boardroom is cold and calculating. They believe that the aggressive, depressive, and raw nature of the HYBE persona confuses the mainstream market and dilutes the positive, healing vibes of the BTS brand. They want a cohesive, sanitized unit, not a collection of fractured, complex artists. This means that the Min Yoongi who spits venom at his haters, the Yoongi who openly discusses his psychiatric struggles, the Yoongi who curses the system that man has been effectively legislated out of existence. The SNL producers were reportedly stunned into silence when they received the rejection letter, which stated that artist Suga is available for performance, provided the setlist is restricted to approved group discography or sanitized solo ballads. The audacity is breathtaking. They are willing to turn down $4.5 million and a massive cultural moment just to keep Yoongi in a box. For armies, this is a declaration of war. The HYBE persona wasn't just a side project, it was a lifeline for millions of fans who struggled with mental health, depression, and social anxiety. When Yoongi rapped about his OCD, his shoulder injury, his poverty, he wasn't just entertaining, he was validating the pain of an entire generation. To see that raw honesty sacrificed on the altar of corporate branding is a betrayal that cuts deep. Twitter threads are exploding with the hashtag #FreeHYBE, with fans posting black and white photos of his wildest concert moments, captioned with lyrics that saved their lives. They are mourning the loss of the dangerous Yoongi, the one who didn't give a damn about idol standards. The tragedy here is the immense missed opportunity. Imagine the power of Yoongi standing on the SNL stage, live from New York, rapping in Korean about the dark side of fame to an American audience that desperately needs to hear it. It would have been a cultural reset. Instead, we are left with the hollow promise of a mature image that feels dangerously like censorship. The executives argue they are protecting him from controversy, but the fans know the truth. They are sanitizing a genius because his truth is too sharp for their soft, mass-market packaging. The $4.5 million check remains unsigned, a ghost of what could have been, and somewhere in a high-end studio in Seoul, you have to wonder if the Daegu boy is looking at his notebook full of angry, beautiful lyrics, wondering if they will ever see the light of day again, or if they are destined to rot in the vault of the persona unification clause. It is a stark reminder that in 2026, the music industry doesn't want artists, it wants avatars. And the human being named Min Yoongi is paying the highest price for their perfection. Number 5. The Shackles on the Rhythm King, America's Got Talent's $5.5 million dance of death. We now transport ourselves from the chilly streets of New York to the sun-drenched, palm-lined boulevards of Pasadena, California, specifically to the legendary Pasadena Civic Auditorium, the home of the world's biggest talent competition, America's Got Talent *. The year is 2026, and the show's creator, the notoriously difficult Simon Cowell, is facing a crisis of relevancy as Gen Alpha abandons traditional TV for the dopamine hits of TikTok. To save the season finale, NBC has authorized a blank check literally, a staggering offer of $5.5 million for just 5 minutes of airtime with the dance commander of BTS, the Sun himself, Jung Ho-seok, better known as J-Hope. But here is the kicker. They don't want the polished idol J-Hope, they want J, the grimy, gritty, underground street dancer who set Lollapalooza on fire. The pitch was electrifying, a 5-minute street route cipher where J-Hope would judge a freestyle battle and then jump in himself for an unscripted, raw, popping and locking explosion of pure dance DNA. It sounds like the moment of the decade, the kind of television that wins Emmys and breaks viewership records. But this dream is currently being strangled to death by the most physically restrictive rule in the new HYBE handbook, a regulation so bizarre and controlling that it has dance crews around the world protesting in solidarity. Enter the Kinetic Standardization Edict, or as the fandom furiously calls it, the robotization of HYBE. Under the draconian terms of the 2026 renewal, members are strictly prohibited from performing improvisational, non-copyrighted or street-style choreography on major broadcast networks. The rationale? The corporation has decided that to maintain BTS's status as high art, every single movement captured on camera must be pre-choreographed by a designated team of elite, classically trained directors to ensure maximum elegance and brand safety. They are terrified that spontaneous street dance looks too aggressive or lowbrow for the ultra-luxury fashion houses that now sponsor the group's every breath. This means the J-Hope, who grew up battling in the streets of Gwangju, the boy who breathes freestyle, is effectively banned from existing. The rule mandates that if J-Hope performs, it must be a contemporary, ballet-infused piece that looks good in a museum, not the raw hip-hop that flows through his veins. The rejection letter sent to NBC was cold and clinical, stating that the artist will not engage in unplanned physical movement. Can you imagine the heartbreak? J-Hope, the man who taught us that dance is freedom, is now legally bound to dance like a puppet on strings. Armies are absolutely losing their minds, flooding social media with the hashtag number #UnchainTheHope, and posting side-by-side comparisons of his raw, hope on the street videos versus the stiff, calculated movements of his recent appearances. The pain here is visceral because dance is J-Hope's language. It's how he speaks when words fail. By banning his freestyle, the company is essentially taping his mouth shut. The Times America's Got Talent Times producers are reportedly furious, arguing that the audience wants to see the sweat, the passion, and the unpredictable magic of HYBE, not a rehearsed robot. But the corporate wall is immovable. They want to sell a pristine, untouchable image, even if it means killing the very spirit that makes J-Hope shine. It creates a terrifying disconnect. On one side, you have a $5.5 million offer that celebrates his roots, and on the other, a contract that demands he cut them off. The fans can see it in his eyes. During recent interviews, a dullness, a longing for the beat that he's not allowed to chase. It raises a terrifying question about the future of art in the K-pop machine. If you strip a dancer of his freedom to move, is he still a dancer? Or just a very expensive model who knows how to count to 8? As the Times AGT Times finale approaches, the stage remains empty of the one man who could fill it with light, leaving us with a heavy realization that in 2026, even the rhythm is regulated and the hope we knew is being curated into oblivion. Number 4. The Muzzle on the Modern Philosopher, 60 Minutes, $6.8 million silence. The atmosphere shifts dramatically as we leave the glitz of entertainment stages and enter the hallowed, serious halls of the CBS Broadcast Center on West 57th Street in New York, the nerve center of American journalism. Here, the legendary stopwatch of Time's 60 Minutes times ticks with a gravity that has intimidated presidents, dictators, and CEOs for nearly 6 decades. In 2026, this bastion of serious reporting is looking to bridge the generational divide, and they have identified only one figure in the global pop culture sphere with the intellectual gravitas to carry a full Sunday night feature: Kim Namjoon, the leader of BTS, the man known to the world as RM. The offer on the table is unprecedented in the history of news media, a staggering $6.8 million donation to a charity of RM's choice, plus a direct appearance fee, all for a mere 5-minute segment of unfiltered conversation. The producers at Time's 60 Minutes *, led by veteran journalists who usually scoff at boy bands, are desperate for this interview. They don't want to talk about dance moves or hair colors, they want the brain. They want the RM who stood before the United Nations, the RM who wanders through art museums contemplating the human condition, the RM whose Weverse letters read like modern poetry. They want to ask him about the geopolitical influence of K-pop, the crushing weight of leading a generation, and his philosophical take on a world on fire. It is the kind of interview that would cement his legacy not just as a pop star, but as a global thought leader. However, this intellectual feast is being starved by the most intellectually insulting regulation in the 2026 HYBE contract, a rule that has the academic and literary side of the fandom raging with indignation. We are talking about the scripted neutrality mandate, or as the heartbroken fans have dubbed it, the ban on Namjooning. Under the suffocating terms of the new era, the leader of BTS is strictly prohibited from discussing politics, but social issues, complex philosophy, or even offering spontaneous critiques of art without a pre-written, legal team-approved script loaded on a teleprompter. The corporation's logic is terrifyingly simple. In a polarized 2026 world, an opinionated leader is a liability. If RM speaks his mind on climate change, he might annoy an industrial sponsor. If he muses too deeply on loneliness, he might disrupt the happy narrative needed to sell merchandise. They have effectively decided that his brain is too dangerous for business. The rejection sent to CBS was a masterclass in corporate cowardice, stating that artist RM is unavailable for unscripted discourse on non-entertainment topics to preserve brand neutrality. Let that sink in. They are turning down nearly $7 million and a chance for global prestige because they are terrified of what Namjoon might times think *. For armies who fell in love with his mind just as much as his music, this is a tragedy of Shakespearean proportions. We are watching the systematic dumbing down of one of the smartest men in the industry. The hashtag number Let Namjoon Speak is trending alongside photos of his old heartfelt letters, with fans begging for the return of the human who admitted he was scared, the human who didn't have all the answers. The Namjooning that we all love, the quiet moments of reflection, the bicycle rides, the book recommendations, is now being packaged and sanitized. If he recommends a book in 2026, it's likely a paid partnership. If he visits a museum, it's a closed-set photo op. The raw, unfiltered connection between his mind and our hearts has been severed by a red pen in a boardroom. The Times 60 Minutes Times producers are reportedly baffled, leaking off-the-record comments that they have never seen a management team so afraid of their own clients' intelligence. It creates a suffocating reality where RM is forced to play the role of a smiling, vacuous mannequin, nodding along to safe questions while his true thoughts are locked away behind a non-disclosure agreement. The irony is bitter. The man who taught us to speak yourself is now the one person on Earth who is legally forbidden from doing so. As the stopwatch ticks on the Times 60 Minutes time screen, it counts down not to a groundbreaking interview, but to the silence of a generation's voice, leaving us to wonder if the real Kim Namjoon is still in there, screaming behind the polished smile, or if the system has finally succeeded in turning a philosopher into a product. The $6.8 million is irrelevant. The real cost is the wisdom we are losing every day. He stays silent. Number 3. The Caged Angel of Busan. The Kelly Clarkson Show's $7.9 million heartbreak. We are now diving deep into the sunny, vibrant heart of Universal City, California, where the undisputed queen of daytime television, Kelly Clarkson, reigns supreme with a microphone in one hand and a heart full of gold in the other. In the landscape of 2026, the Kelly Clarkson Showtimes isn't just a talk show, it is a cultural therapy session, the one place where celebrities go to cry, laugh, and sing their souls out. And for her monumental Global Music Week special, the network executives authorized a check that made the industry gasp. A mind-blowing $7.9 million for a mere 5-minute appearance by the fairy of BTS, the man who defies gender and gravity, Park Jimin. The concept was pure magic. A Kelly-oak duet where Jimin and Kelly would perform a stripped-down acoustic version of Like Crazy, followed by an intimate, knee-to-knee interview on that famous couch. Kelly wanted the Jimin who giggles until he disappears, the Jimin who instinctively reaches out to hold hands, the Jimin whose cutie, sexy, lovely charm melts the hardest of hearts. But this beautiful collision of vocals and vibes has been brutally blocked by the most personally invasive and identity-erasing regulation in the entire 2026 HYBE contract renewal. We are staring into the abyss of the stoic masculinity and physical boundary protocol, or, as the devastated fandom refers to it through tears, the death of baby Mochi, under the new, suffocating brand guidelines aimed at securing conservative ultra-high net worth markets. Jimin is strictly prohibited from initiating or accepting any form of physical touch, no hugs, no hand-holding, no playful hitting while laughing, and, most tragically, he is banned from wearing any gender-ambiguous or soft aesthetic clothing on Western broadcasts. The corporate strategists have decided that the filter era Jimin, with his corsets, sheer tops, and fluid movements, is too niche for the monolithic, serious image they are pushing for the group's legacy years. They want him in sharp, dark, double-breasted suits, standing with his hands clasped behind his back, projecting an aura of cold, untouchable power. When Times The Kelly Clarkson Show, Times producers sent over the run of show, which included a welcome hug from Kelly, because she hugs everyone, the legal team at HYBE redlined it immediately, stating, "Artist Jimin must maintain a minimum physical distance of 3 feet and will not engage in casual tactile greetings." It is a slap in the face to everything that makes Jimin, well, Jimin. He is the member who communicates love through touch, whose very soul is wrapped in warmth and affection. To force him into a box of cold, rigid masculinity is to dim one of the brightest lights in pop culture. Armies are absolutely furious, trending number Let Jimin Be Jimin and sharing heartbreaking compilations of his recent appearances where he looks like a beautiful, trapped porcelain doll, smiling, but distant, his hands strictly at his sides, his eyes searching for a warmth he's not allowed to express. The rejection of the $7.9 million offer isn't just about money, it's a rejection of Jimin's authentic self. Fans argue that the company is trying to rewrite his DNA, stripping away the softness that redefined what it means to be a man in the 21st century. The tragedy is palpable. We are denied the chance to hear his angelic high notes blend with Kelly's powerhouse vocals. But more importantly, we are denied the sight of Jimin simply being happy, comfortable, and free. Instead, the new Jimin is a construct of corporate fear, a polished statue who isn't allowed to giggle, isn't allowed to hug, and isn't allowed to be the lovely angel who saved so many of us. As the empty spot on Kelly's couch glares back at us, it serves as a cruel reminder that in this new era, perfection is mandatory, but humanity is strictly prohibited. Number 2. The silencing of the soulful baritone, The Voice's $8.8 million jazz tragedy. We are now pulling up to the heavily guarded gates of Universal Studios Hollywood, where the air is thick with the scent of expensive hairspray and shattered dreams, entering the high-stakes battleground of NBC's Times The Voice *. It is the grand finale of the 2026 season, and the producers, desperate to crush their streaming competitors, have placed a wager that makes the national debt look manageable. We are talking about an earth-shattering offer of $8.8 million. Yes, you are hearing that number correctly. Nearly $9 million for a measly, fleeting 5-minute segment featuring the man who was once voted the most handsome face in the world, the baritone prince of BTS, Kim Tae-young, famously known as V. But listen closely, because The Voice Times didn't offer this mountain of cash for a generic pop performance. They wanted the Soul Times of Kim Tae-young. They wanted the jazz aficionado, the man who swoons over Bing Crosby and Chet Baker, the eccentric artist who plays the trumpet with puffed-out cheeks and isn't afraid to make the weirdest, most lovable faces on live television. The pitch was a vintage jazz lounge segment where V would sit on a stool, bathed in sepia light, crooning a smoky, unreleased jazz standard while playfully bantering with the coaches, showcasing that unpredictable, ta-ta energy that makes him the most unique idol in the industry. It was set to be the classiest, most viral moment in reality TV history, a segment that would have melted screens from Seoul to San Francisco. But this masterpiece has been ruthlessly destroyed, crushed into dust by the most artistically stifling and visually controlling regulation found in the depths of the 2026 HYBE legal vault. We are facing the horror of the visual supremacy and genre lock clause, or as the sobbing, heartbroken fandom has named it, the erasure of Tay-Tay. Under the terrifyingly strict terms of this new era, V is legally prohibited from performing niche, non-commercial genres, specifically citing jazz and classical, on major Western platforms. And even more shockingly, he is banned from exhibiting non-standard facial expressions, or eccentric behavioral quirks that deviate from the perfect visual god narrative. The corporate overlords have decided that V's love for the vintage, the weird, and the whimsical confuses the luxury model image they are selling to high-end fashion houses like Celine and Cartier. They want him to be a statue, a breathtakingly beautiful, unmoving mannequin who sings polished pop songs and looks stoically into the camera, not the free spirit who makes double chins for fun or dances barefoot to 1950s tunes. When NBC received the rejection notice, it reportedly came with a terrifying note. Artist 5 is available solely for high-fashion visual segments. No comedy, no jazz, no improvisation. The devastation among ARMYs is absolute and total. They are trending number Let Tae-young Be Weird and number Free the Jazz King worldwide, flooding the internet with clips of his old, chaotic live streams where he was just a boy having fun, contrasting them with his recent appearances where he looks like a trapped prince in a glass castle, stunning, yes, but hauntingly empty. The tragedy here is that V isn't just a pretty face, he is a deep, old soul trapped in a modern idol's body, and The Voice offered him a rare chance to show that depth to the American mainstream. By banning his jazz and his quirks, the company is effectively censoring his personality. They are telling him that his true self, the guy who loves strawberries and plays the saxophone badly but passionately, is not premium enough for the 2026 brand. It is a cultural crime. We are watching the vibrant, colorful world of Kim Tae-young being painted over in beige and gray corporate tones. The $8.8 million check is sitting in a shredder somewhere in Los Angeles, but the real loss is the silence where the jazz should be. Instead of the warm, deep notes of a saxophone and a boxy smile that reaches his eyes, we are left with the cold perfection of a magazine cover come to life. Flawless, expensive, and devastatingly sad. Is this what it means to be a global icon in 2026? To trade your soul for a perfect image? As the red chair spins around on The Voice asterisk, it remains empty. A stark symbol of the music we will never hear and the man we are slowly forgetting how to know. Number 1. The erasure of the Golden Rebel, the Super Bowl LXI pregame show's $12.5 million cultural suicide. Here we are, at the absolute summit of insanity, standing on the precipice of the single most infuriating, heartbreaking, and astronomically expensive rejection in the history of the global entertainment industry. If you thought the previous points were tragic, prepare your souls, because this one isn't just a missed opportunity, it is a crime against art itself. We are transporting you to the biggest stage on planet Earth, the Super Bowl LXI in Levi's Stadium, Santa Clara. Broadcast live to over 200 million people by the titan of sports media, Fox Sports, It is February 2026, and the network executives are not just asking for a performance, they are begging, pleading, and practically throwing the entire vault at HYBE. The offer is a record-breaking, jaw-dropping, history-altering $12.5 million yes, $12.5 million for a mere 5 minutes of airtime. And who is the target of this desperate diamond-encrusted bid? It is the king of pop, for the new generation, the golden matinee, the man whose mere breath causes stock markets to fluctuate. Jungkook. But Fox didn't offer this GDP-sized paycheck for Dynamite or Seven. No, they wanted the Times' Real Times Jungkook. They pitched a segment titled The Golden Rock Star, a raw 5-minute acoustic set where Jungkook would stand alone in the center of the field, armed only with an electric guitar, his tattoos fully visible, his lip ring glinting under the stadium lights, performing a gritty, self-composed rock ballad about the pain of growing up in a glass box. It was the moment that would have crowned him the undisputed icon of the century, a performance that promised to merge the raw energy of Nirvana with the pop perfection of Michael Jackson. The world was ready. The script was written. The check was signed. But then, the hammer dropped. The dream was obliterated by the single most hated, most draconian, and most dehumanizing regulation in the 2026 contract renewal, a rule that has sparked protests outside the HYBE building in Seoul and ignited a digital riot unlike anything the internet has ever seen. We are staring into the cold, dead eyes of ***, the visual purity and sonic standardization mandate. Or as the weeping, furious armies call it, the de-inking of JK. Under the ironclad. Non-negotiable terms of this new era, Jungkook is strictly legally prohibited from exposing Times anytimes, permanent body modification tattoos, or piercings on any live global broadcast. But it gets worse. Much, much worse. He is also banned from performing any self-composed music that has not passed a rigorous 15-step global pop appeal focus group test, which essentially outlaws the rock, grunge, and experimental sounds that he truly loves. The corporation has decided that to secure his longevity as a timeless global asset, Jungkook must be frozen in time as the fresh-faced innocent boy from 2013. They believe his tattoos and his edgy style are limiting his marketability to conservative luxury demographics. When Fox Sports received the rejection, the reason cited was chilling. Artist JK is unavailable for performances requiring exposed dermis ink or unvetted musical compositions. Participation requires full tattoo coverage, makeup or clothing, and adherence to the pre-approved Bright Pop set list. The audacity is suffocating. They are turning down $12.5 million and the biggest stage in America because they are ashamed of his skin. They are ashamed of the art he etched onto his body to tell his own story. The army tattoo on his knuckles? Covered. The tiger lily? Hidden. The eye of the storm? Buried under layers of foundation and long sleeves. For the fans, this is the ultimate betrayal. Jungkook's tattoos were never just ink. They were his declaration of independence, his way of reclaiming the body that the industry tried to own. To force him to cover them up is to erase his history, his pain, and his identity. The backlash is apocalyptic. The hashtag **let Jungkook be free *** has been trending at #1 worldwide for 72 hours straight, with fans burning merchandise and canceling memberships in a mass exodus. They are sharing side-by-side photos, one of the corporate JK clean-skinned, smiling vacantly, singing generic pop, and one of the real JK sweaty, tattooed, eyes burning with passion, singing his heart out. The contrast is devastating. We are watching a living legend being lobotomized in real time. The tragedy is that Jungkook Times wanted Times this. Insiders leak that he had already written the song for the Super Bowl, a track about finding himself in the noise. But that song is now locked in a digital vault, likely never to be heard. The Fox producers are stunned, quoted anonymously saying, "We wanted the rock star, they gave us a doll." This isn't just about a TV show or a paycheck. This is about the soul of the artist. By enforcing this rule, the company is sending a message that perfection is more valuable than authenticity. that a clean image is worth more than a messy, beautiful human truth. As the Super Bowl approaches, the halftime slot remains filled by a safe, generic act, while the ghost of what could have been haunts the stadium. We are left with the crushing realization that in 2026, the golden maknae is no longer golden because he shines. He is golden because he has been plated, polished, and put on a shelf, forbidden from ever being real again. The silence where his rock ballad should be is the loudest sound in the world, marking the end of the BTS we knew and the beginning of a gilded cage that no amount of money can unlock.